How's it going, man? What's your name?
NAT.
Matt. Cool,
Yeah.
man. Where are you from originally?
Texas.
Texas? Cool. All right. You mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah, just ask whatever you want.
All right, cool. Yeah, what do you think about Portland?
It's a big-ish city. It's not too big. Um, I think it's like any other city, but it does have some unique subcultures, some, foodie type, know where your food comes from. There's some stereotypes with that, and it does exist here, which is really nice. If you know where to get good food, it's pretty amazing here in Portland.
Yeah, cool. What do you, do you like the weather here compared to in Texas?
Texas can get muggy hot, and what I mean by that is it's ridiculously humid sometimes during the summer. The winters, about every 12 years where I was at, it would snow. If you go northern Texas, it snows every year, I think. But that humid heat is just bad. You don't get that here, which is nice. So yeah, I can do more with the weather, I think. So.
What do you think? What do you think about Ted Wheeler? You think he's doing a good job with the city?
Ted Wheeler, you know what? I know he's the mayor, and that's about all I know about him. When I talk about the city and how it's run, Ted Wheeler never really comes up. What does come up is how things work in most cities, and I don't think, from what I've heard, I don't think there's anything that Ted Wheeler himself really has any control over. A lot of the homeless people are sent here from, Salt Lake City, from prisons in California. Portland decided a long time ago to try to take care of their homeless the right way, and they became a mark, kind of. So and I don't think Ted Wheeler can control that. If it was one or two cities, we could sue that city. But it's Ted Wheeler. I'm sure he's doing the best he can, but he's just, at this point, what else can you do but react to, whoever's throwing the biggest fit, I guess.
Yeah. Cool, man. What do you think about the President Joe Biden? You think he's doing a good job?
I think they could not control Trump, but they can control Biden, and that's all there is to that. That's all I see.
That's a good one, man. What do you think about this upcoming election?
I don't even know who's running. I'm sorry, I just don't keep up with it.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, that's cool, man. I imagine Joe's gonna run again, and DeSantis and Trump and stuff. What do you think about Trump?
Trump, I think, had potential because he always stayed engaged. He didn't just say, well, it's all bullshit, I'm gonna let it alone. He stood up for himself, which was, actually the way he did it was unique, and it was actually modern. It was effective. So he had potential, but I guess he's got his own interests. So can you trust him? I have no idea.
Oh man, what do you think about this trans movement? With the women, they're in women's sports and stuff.
I've heard some things. I've also, I guess the only opinions I've got are things I've heard on NPR and some other places.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a group of people that I think have been ostracized, and what they can and can't do in sports is important, and it needs to be worked out. But there are some cases where the stories, it's like, wow, this, 6 foot something man competing with a bunch of, much smaller women. It's just, I think they've got that figured out, though. They go by testosterone levels, what kind of condition your body is in, like what gender your body is in at the moment when you're going into that sport, and they're starting to work through that. So, yeah. But I guess that's about all I got.
It's kind of like, like in the girls' bathroom or something, in high school or something. What do you think about that? Like trans going into.
You know what, man? If someone's being aggressive, that has nothing to do with how many clothes they're wearing. You go to Russia, I think the girls and boys, they shower together.
Oh, really?
I've heard that. I've heard that. But how to respect people is important. If someone that's not supposed to be there walks in with no clothes on, you can assume they're there to try to impress somebody or to get a reaction, and that's not okay. But if you can make it work, you can make it work. So it really depends on how the people involved feel. And if they're not comfortable with it, then it doesn't matter what I think.
What do you think about inflation in the economy, man?
Inflation in the economy? I've actually had to give this some thought. When the pandemic kind of let everybody out, I don't know if that's the right verbiage to use there, but Uber sent me a message saying, you know, we'll give you a certain amount to start driving again, because during the pandemic I didn't drive, and so they were paying a lot of money. So I worked for about 10 hours. I got about $500, which wasn't bad. And but the thing you have to understand about any delivery service, and this has to do with inflation, what you're asking, the price of something, you know, how much work can your money do? Deadheading, you don't get paid for deadheading. So when you go to pick somebody up from where you're at to go pick them up, you don't get paid for that. But then once you pick them up and take them somewhere, you get paid for that. So I was getting paid a whole lot of money to make each trip, but there was a lot of deadheading. And because it was so expensive, not everybody was buying. So again, you know, the deadheading, that's where the deadheading came in. Nobody could afford it. So the prices started to drop drastically. I thought I wasn't going to make as much money, but I was making the exact same amount per day that I was when it started. And that's because, you know, less deadheading, the service I was offering, it was cheaper, so now my money is worth something. So efficient production, efficient work, that's what makes my money powerful, not trying to get as much money out as I can or get the biggest tip that I can. Because if somebody, you know, is in the habit of getting big tips, what are they going to do? They're going to spend less. They're going to buy that service less. So
cool, man. What do you think about UFOs, man?
UFOs,
That's been coming out a lot, you know.
Yeah, you know what, I hear about it, and it's so hard to, like, if you wanted to just make some things up and just try to, you know, scare as many people as you can, what are you gonna do? You're talking about werewolves or UFOs, you know, so how do you sift through? I hope it's true. You know, I hope, that would be exciting, that would be amazing if there were UFOs, so I hope it is, but yeah, I wouldn't know, I wouldn't begin to know where to fact check that stuff.
Have a public seeing of one, you know, like actually show one, man.
Did they?
Oh no, I'm just saying, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, you know, maybe.
Did, but I'd hope to, you know, see it on TV or out in the public, man, something.
Yeah. Well,
just kind of cool.
I have been watching a lot of videos on that, and some of them bring up, you know, that's great if we go out and we meet new species, but that doesn't mean that species really wants to meet us. You know, they might not be interested in us. They might think, well, these people are eventually going to be, you know, competition. But anyways, I don't know. Actually, that doesn't really make any sense. It's a big universe, so I don't see us competing for resources with any other species unless they're, you know, they've literally, like, just expanded so much that they're covering, you know, entire galaxies. And if that had happened, I think we'd see it. So that'll be an experience, but we have to be careful. You know, if there is another species out there, an intelligent species, we gotta think ahead. So
what do you think about global warming?
Global warming, I think there's probably a lot of hype involved. You hear stories about ice melting, and we find artifacts, you know, I think the Vikings were up north or something. There was this patch of ice, this glacier that had melted. That just means that at some point it had already been at that temperature. Like that change had already happened. I don't know what the cycles are that we go through. Global warming, I'm going with it. You know, I tried to recycle, but I don't know. So that's all I got.
Cool, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.